Joe, the casino is now open every single day of the week. You can place options bets that expire the same day, tied to the S&P 500 index, to the Qs, and they expire the same day.
It's a bad failure as far as innovation and moving towards the future, because clearly you've got to have the EV as part of your play in the future to compete with some of these other companies.
You know, the Morgan Stanley analyst was going on and on about their AI capabilities moving forward.
Dojo's supercomputer?
Yes.
Did anyone really know what this was?
Yeah.
Yeah? All that and more. So let's get to it. Tesla stock has corrected after that massive 10% gain after the Adam Jonas note, but up almost 0.3% in the pre-market. Currently for the week, Tesla is up almost 5%. Something tells me Tesla is not quite done with their gains for the rest of the week. Here's a snapshot of my current options contracts. Speaking of options,
lead writer for the Wall Street Journal's live market coverage, as well as a CNBC contributor in studio today. We're talking off camera. So I know I have seen this movie with OEXs and XMIs in the old days, but usually on expiration Friday, you could do it. So you're telling me this can be done every day. Why there are, and educate me because I've been out of that business in this business, but there are options that expire every day.
To Joe's point, this is what I currently do on Robinhood. On Fridays, I might engage in some zero-day options trading. Options contracts that expire that same day. But what you may or may not know is that some platforms have zero-day options trading all through the week. Let's hear more.
Joe, the casino is now open every single day of the week. You can place options bets that expire the same day, tied to the S&P 500 index, to the Qs, and they expire the same day. What we're going to see shortly after the opening bell at 9:30 is there's going to be a rush of activity. People wanting to trade these one-day bets.
Are they listed options?
They are. They're
options that expire every day.
Every single day at the Cboe Global Markets.
How many strike prices can you get?
So many. It really ranges from super bearish bets to bullish bets on the S&P 500. And exchanges have expanded how many strikes are available. They've expanded how many expirations are available. And a lot of this activity really heated up last year when Cboe Global Markets decided to list options that expire tied to the S&P 500 index, expiring every single day of the week, and then SPY and Qs also expire every single day of the week.
For long-term investors that really do this to help with their retirement, there's only one reason to do anything like that. So instead of, so the S&P moves a percentage point, you can make 1%. On these, you can make 5 or 6 times your money.
Or 1,000%.
Or 1,000.
What? Now, your boy is a gambler, and it won't be long now before Robinhood gets on board this train of zero-day options. The more volatility, the better. Tesla is just one of the many names that people would be trying to exploit with these zero-day options trade, myself included.
You know, people are looking to hold these for seconds or minutes or hours, and they're really looking to quadruple, quintuple, 10x their returns. You know, they don't want a 1% gain or loss. They really, really want to turbocharge their investments, and that's why investors and analysts I spoke with call them lottery ticket trades.
The meme stock craze helped consolidate a lot of the speculation and I don't know, the fever pitch that was crypto and everything else at the time. That kind of fell by the way. So this is now taking the baton from those trades?
I mean, it's taken speculation to the next level. Options are riskier than just trading meme stocks, right? Because of the leverage involved.
Trade options on meme stocks.
You can trade options on meme stocks. You can trade options on leveraged ETPs.
Right. Oh, okay. So there's also some conjecture that, and I ask you that it's not just individuals, but big players are divvying up into little trades to mask their activities.
I'm sure there's some of that happening. You know, I got some data from Cboe Global Markets, and they said that around 30 to 40% of one-day S&P 500 options trades are stemming from retail investors. And
that 60 to 70% is coming from somewhere.
And they really have a good look at this flow. And I've spoken with scores of individual investors. They really want to get in on this. They're hungry to take these giant risks in the market.
So the rise that we've seen in the S&P, this recent rally, so I guess there's been a lot of long active people wait, okay, there's going to be another day where the S&P surprises everyone and closes higher. So that's been something. What about the Magnificent Seven? Individual stocks, individual tech stocks, people are buying things for $100 trying to make $10,000.
Definitely. Tesla, NVIDIA, still some of the most popular options trades out there. You can trade weekly options on them. And what we've seen is for options with 5 or fewer days to expiration, those recently made up around half of all options activity, up from, like a third just a few years ago. So
I'm only doing about a half a dozen a week. It's not all me, folks.
Tag segment. So let's bring in our next guest. That's going to be Landon Swan. He's a co-founder at Likefolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right. So we already hit on Tesla a little bit. Now we're talking GM. A lot of these OEMs in this space about to go on strike potentially. And I think you've seen the stock struggle due to that. Does your data support the stock moves at this point? Because it seemed like, over the last couple of years, we've seen continued demand in this space. But now, you've got a strike looming.
Yeah, I tell you what, the data, generally speaking, looks good for this company in a traditional kind of automaker sense. When it comes to innovation and the future, a little bit more hazy. So if you just kind of take a look at the, stack up the comparison of all the different automakers, it's pretty clear that obviously Tesla's the one that's getting the most attention, the most increase in attention across social media and the web. And Lucid's the next one to follow. And then you kind of got the traditional ones in the mix there. But overall, yeah, GM is looking like a very solid at traditional automaking and in that business. Again, they've got that strike looming, which you just talked about. But overall, they're not really impressing consumers. You can see here their website visits are down about 3% on a year-over-year basis. Compare that to some of their, traditional competitors. They're beating Ford. They're not as good as BMW. But then you've got the outliers, the true EV plays at the very top of that chart. That's what's getting people excited. Side note, you've got Rivian lagging behind quite a bit behind Lucid and Tesla. I think that's really the differentiator here. Are they going to move into the future with electric vehicles or not? Because they've tried with the Chevy Bolt. They had a lot of recall problems. One where people were potentially getting shocked by the power cord. Another recall where the battery was a fire risk. I mean, these are serious recalls. And so they've discontinued that project. And I think that it's a bad failure as far as innovation and moving towards the future, because clearly you've got to have the EV as part of your play in the future to compete with some of these other companies.
This 90-day moving average visits chart, what it indicates to me is price cuts work. Lucid just announced price cuts on most of their trends. Lo and behold, they've gotten more visits to their website. Tesla drops the price of the Model S, Model X, Model 3. Got Cybertruck reservations people are checking on. There might be well over 2 million Cybertruck reservations right now. That's a lot of traffic, but for it to be up 56% on top of all of what they're doing, all this chart tells me price cuts work.
And so, they're not doing well there. But you look at their last earnings report, they're up 52%. The revenue is up significantly. Our mentions on social media show them at plus 12%, led by Chevy and Cadillac brands. So they're doing well again in the general, automaker world. I think if EVs never existed, if that wasn't a thing, if Elon Musk was never born and brought those to the level that they've been at, I think that you see GM doing much better.
Your boy does not want to live in a world that does not have Elon Musk.
It's a 90-day moving average of people talking about GM products and their brands. It's on a nice, steady uptrend. You've got the stock chart that, as you can see, it's got 5 times that it's hit around this level, this 33 level, $45 billion market cap. I think that the price history is kind of telling us that the market feels like 45 billion is about the least that this company can be worth. So we're there, right? We've got that support level there. But I think one of the big reasons is, in about 55 hours or something like that, we've got a very big deadline on a potential strike. I know the unions are, they've lowered their demands, but they're still pretty far away from what GM's willing to pay. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. That obviously, Likefolio has no insight on. And we don't have expenses. We don't have strike data. We have, consumer demand and revenue data. So what we're seeing is that they're doing a good job, nice and steady. And, I'd say at this level without the strike, it's a pretty good buy. But I wouldn't want to buy and hold this company for 5 years. I might buy and hold it for 6 months or 12 months if they can get out of this strike. I just don't see them successfully innovating on the future. They haven't shown that ability. They've done a good job making cars, but they're not making the future of cars right now.
Damn!
Landon, I'm going to put out a scenario, and I want you to tell me where I'm dead wrong on this scenario. Tesla keeps squeezing their own margins to put pressure on other EV makers. And every time they do that, they put more pressure on GM and Ford and Stellantis to get to a profitable level in future EV sales. I think Elon Musk is using his advantage to squeeze them. In terms of the strike, yes, they dropped from 46% to the mid 30s, but there's another lingering problem out there. And that is one of the things they want, Landon, is to go back from the 401k to the regular pension program, which is what bankrupted GM in years past.
Don't you do it, GM. Don't you go bankrupt. Don't you do it.
We're not talking about that very much, but they want, at a time where GM and Ford can least afford to do this, the timing on this strike is going to be horrible for this company, and Elon Musk keeps pressing his advantage. They're getting painted right into a corner, Landon.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's why their stock's at the level that it's at.
GM, Ford, Stellantis, they're all going to have to go through a gigantic metamorphosis to survive the decade. Their ability to make internal combustion engine cars offers very little translation when you're talking about the future of transit. We all know it's battery electric vehicles, but that's only the powertrain part of the equation. What's GM's software look like? Something that came out of the 90s? This is where GM is so far behind when it comes to a Tesla vehicle and maybe something like the Chevy Bolt or even the Cadillac. It'll be their software capabilities. These aren't just cars anymore. They're computers on wheels. And if you're purchasing a computer, you're gonna want the one with the best software, the best video card, the best compute. And it'll be a no-brainer. Tesla is your best option. But if you're satisfied with subpar, go ahead and grab a Cadillac. Oh, you want the new Lexus EV? Best of luck.
We're talking Tesla had a big jump of 10% in yesterday's session, giving up a little bit of those gains today, just down slightly, still up over 120% on the year. Kevin, when you look at this company, it was based on the big upgrade yesterday out of Morgan Stanley. We discussed that on the show. But now you're starting to get to levels where, price cuts, margins, you start talking about the fundamental side of this business. And the Morgan Stanley analyst was going on and on about their AI capabilities moving forward.
Dojo supercomputer?
Yes.
Did anyone really know what this was?
Yeah.
Yeah? Maybe you should tune in tomorrow for Tesla Throwback Thursday, where we will get an in-depth look of Tesla's first Investor AI Day. You might learn a thing or two.
Someone mentioned $10 trillion market cap on Tesla.
Yeah.
And it's always been, I say it on this show a lot, the pipeline. It's what is in the pipeline. What does Elon Musk have in his pipeline? We haven't even gotten the Cybertruck yet. Robo-taxi. I say it all the time. There's so many things that could take this company higher. It's hard to fathom. I'd like to sit Elon Musk down and go, what are you doing that no one knows about?
Right.
What's the next thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And hear what he says.
Yeah.
I think we'd be fascinated.
Well, I think, he's got the book out that Walter Isaacson just releasing the book today. It's getting some pretty good reviews. But Randy, when you look at this company, and maybe that's what, a lot of the people that look out, instead of looking at the business now, they look at what it could be, and that full self-driving aspect, creating robo-taxis. They've already got a bunch of the car automakers on their supercharger network for EVs. It almost seems like this company is going to be that tech company that leases, product and innovation and tech to a lot of the other major players and mostly their competitors.
Well, it's one of the benefits of being a cult following. If you get a cult following, you can talk about things and get benefit from it. And Tesla, I think, frankly, has gotten that from the very beginning.
Maybe they have a point, but I guarantee you, you don't just get a cult following from doing nothing. Tesla's satisfaction rate with their cars and various other products cannot be understated. I wonder if it was a cult following for Apple or maybe Amazon before it became mainstream. Nah, Tesla will never get to that level. It won't be a staple in our daily lives on that degree, right?
As you said, the self-driving cars are, 5 years behind schedule? I think the Cybertruck was first announced in about 2004 maybe, or something like that, maybe 2014, but it's been a long time. And I know they're building them right here in Austin, Texas, where I live. And the factory is pretty impressive when you see it. But again, they continue to miss deadlines on everything, but they still have a cult following. The people who buy Teslas love them. I've talked to a lot of people. I've only ever had one friend I've ever spoken to who bought a Tesla and didn't like it. And it was for the same reason that a lot of people won't buy them, and that is that they were regularly traveling back and forth between Austin and Colorado, and they got really frustrated with the charging network. But this again goes back to what Kevin was talking about earlier with the iPhone, is that if you want widespread adoption of anything, and if you want to make something a standard, you've got to get everybody to adapt to the same thing. And USB-C is pretty universal everywhere. Apple has been a holdout for a very long time. They're finally going to go to that. Likewise, you're seeing the same thing happening with Tesla. Started out with a different plug than all the rest of the electric cars, and they had their own charging network. They're all starting to now go on board with the Tesla network. And virtually everything you read will tell you that every other charging network is horrible except for the except for the Tesla network.
Freudian slip, maybe?
Which works very, very well. And eventually everyone will be using that. That's a real benefit going forward. And to me, that's tangible. You know, Dojo supercomputers, Neuralink, and all these other crazy things that they're working on, I think at some point they do have benefit, but they are certainly down the road. But
What does Neuralink have to do with Tesla? This is what I'm talking about. These experts just have no idea what is on the horizon. How can you expect them to capitalize on the potential opportunity? They've got their heads buried in the sand.
doesn't mean that the company's stock price won't benefit. I mean, this thing's up 125% year to date. That's way outpacing the NASDAQ even, and certainly outpacing the S&P 500. So they've continued to get benefit in terms of stock price from all sorts of things that are way out into the future if they ever even materialize at all. It's a pretty fascinating story.
Yeah, cash register. Every time someone says the phrase way out into the future, all I hear is, oh yeah. That's all I got for you today. Make sure to tune in tomorrow where we look at Tesla's first AI Investor Day. It will be a hypercut with all the pertinent information. Be easy. Peace.